Perfect. There we go. As a starter, we typically start with an icebreaker question that it's on that link. Let me start it. And yeah, if everyone goes to either that link, uses that QR, or goes to slido.com and enters the code there, we'll copy the code on the chat. You will be able to answer.
Could you post the link to the chat?
Yes.
Thank you.
Link is here. It's also on HackMD if you need it, if you need to find it. Okay. So how many events have you attended here? It looks like so far today we have plenty of new people. That's amazing. I have not voted myself. Okay. I don't see the actual numbers, but since we do have quite a few people, please, I will just reiterate that you can pause us at any point, use the chat to get in contact with any of the co-chairs if you don't know what the dynamics of today are, or if you have any questions. Also, during the whole session today, I will be staying in the main room for anyone to come with questions, any help that they need. Yeah, I hope that it's easy to follow, but yeah, anything that you want to discuss, we are here to help, and ensure that you do come back for the next event, and we have more and more people. Okay. Next question. And this is especially important since we have new people around what are your expectations and what are you excited about this community? And also because it's always nice to have a word cloud. Everyone knows that if you do a Slido, you need a word cloud. Alignment, discovery, energy, yes. I like alignment. It's something that we say a lot about this community. Pulling engagement, pulling voices. Okay, tons and tons of responses. Standardization. We use that a lot. Learning and knowledge sharing. I'm quite happy that you all expect things that we aim to do in this community and not something totally different to what we have been trying. I see 3 participants typing. After that, we will go to the next. Open science, yes. Yes, please. Amazing. Yep. Very interesting. Thanks. We hope to get to take the community exactly in this kind of direction. So this is quite validating. Okay. The third one I'm going to leave open and we are going to continue, but it's going to be here in case anyone wants to leave any feedback or kind of a virtual card, a goodbye to Harry. You know how much he did for this community. Now he's enjoying some time off, walking around the world. And I think, yeah, I think his contributions to this committee were were great. So I will leave this open in case anyone wants to leave some kind words for him. I will be taking any non-kind words, but I don't think I have to worry for that. I will make a whistle stop here with this slide because there are many people. I was going to just go through it, just skip it. But since we have plenty of new people, I think it's important to kind of remember why we are here, and it's a lot of what you have already, or what you have already said on the slide, or that you expect, and is to have that four-nation coordinated collaborative approach to research infrastructure for working with sensitive data. And this is a space to signpost, share knowledge, and facilitate conversations across the UK TRE landscape. So exactly what you were saying, we are here to share the knowledge, point towards new resources, try not to duplicate, align ourselves, and improve collaboration. You can see a lot of that in the left. With that, I think I will pass it on to Pete for the keynote. I'll be back later with all of you. And in the meantime, if you do need any kind of help, again, shout out. And I will encourage you to use the collaborative notes on HackMD. You will find specific ones for this first part in here in welcome and intro. And it's the same that for the keynote, and that allows us to make good reports and also to kind of filter through questions and organize questions. Okay, Pete, over to you. Do you want to share? Should I stop sharing?
Please, that would be great. Thanks, David. Hi there, welcome. I hope you can see my screen and hear my voice for you. Thank you very much for the opportunity. I think the idea here was as much to show you how the CRIC is treating and attacking its challenge of creating a trusted research environment as anything else. We may approach it slightly different to others. So that was the point of getting a debate and a discussion going to share approaches and such like. So please do yell at me in the chat. I won't answer it directly, but hopefully we'll have time for questions towards the end. So we are a European biomedical research institute based near King's Cross. We obviously work with world organizations around the world. We have about 120 labs pursuing collaborative interdisciplinary fundamental research, but also moving to clinical questions, with about a quarter of the teams pursuing those sort of clinical questions. Now, as an entity, we're funded by both the Medical Research Council, but also Cancer Research UK and Wellcome Trust, along with our partner organisations being the London Universities of King's, Imperial and UCL. So we are very much taxpayer funded and open science driven. And if you can see some of our collaborating partners on the left, right hand side. I'm terrible with my lefts and rights, so apologies. Those are those organisations very connected with health and life science type of work. So we have in our operations a wish to collaborate, and through that we have about, as I say, about 120 labs and about 20 what we call science technology platforms. These are things like advanced sequencing or metabolomics or proteomics or biological bioinformatics, that sort of thing. And we wish to work with the globe, and there's a few examples. So we want global reach. And at the moment on the hospital side, we're at least 40 or so NHS trusts that we have collaborative research going alongside. So if you imagine those 120 labs and 20 STPs are working with lots of organizations all over the place, and they wish to collaborate across the world, how do we do that? What we need, obviously, is the concept of a project. We use legal setup, formulated and agreement-based projects. And invariably, because we're in the health world, when we're working with people, we have consented participation. And through that project, what we want to do is bring the data to the project and create that goal, that clear new information knowledge for those consented participants as a base. So we want lots of parts to bring their data to one project. How do we do that when we are needing to look after data that is specific to individuals and potentially connectable to individuals somewhere down the line? How do we make that happen? So that's where we came at as our problem when we were thinking about trusted research environments, in that English 3 words. So our world was built around how can we create a platform that would allow us to support the combination of almost any organization anywhere on the planet to do work which requires us to have secure data, possibly across the various globes and locations. So North America, Asia, Europe, Africa, etc., as well as the UK. So that was our formulating challenge. So that's the basis upon which you should maybe think about the rest of what I'm going to share with you. How do we do that? What does it look like? So when we were setting out this thing, we thought, what are those driving factors? And as you can see, global reach is obviously one. We need to be able to collaborate with almost anyone who's bringing data to the project. We obviously are moving, therefore, to a cloud scalable resource. Any problem, large or small, we shouldn't be constrained in our thinking by compute power or storage power. And therefore, we also want to be cloud agnostic because we don't know the source of all the other data sets, where they're held, what they're stored on as a cloud provider. The next set was we wanted a set of programmable open platforms to build upon. We wanted to integrate orchestration and workflow as a basis for delivery provisioning. And we need a standard set of metadata for the audit and compliance type of activity that we wish to embody and enable across our platform for any project. We also wanted to have billing and cost control. So we need not just budgetary control and the ability to limit the amount of compute costs any person can spend in any given period, i.e. the risk of something going awry and all of a sudden spending too much money on something when we didn't plan for it. But we also wanted to democratize the participation. How can we make this accessible for people who want to join with us, but don't have a large IT department and therefore can't deal with maybe loads of techie stuff, and also maybe want to just join us spending inverted commas on a credit card? So how can we do that? And that's where the cost control comes in. You can set a budget that, you're not going to break your budget on your credit card, that sort of logic, not literal. But we also wanted it to be bound with a legal agreement. So we need the legal agreement for the project to encompass the terms that are part of the platform that provides the collaboration. And last of all, we wanted, very importantly, to look for a way by which we could have data under the control of the, if inverted commas, owning the data chain of custody, but allow the ability to, inverted commas, share that data to others, where the data isn't copied, but maybe viewable or processable. So sort of remote processing, that sort of logic. So those were the three groups, and the final one about data control, making the 8 sort of topics. And the result was an ecosystem that we built using cloud technologies, which we call Trellis, which is built around a snowflake. You may or may not have come to it. I'm not going to talk a lot about it. Data fabric, that's what it looks like. So let's go on to a bit more about what Trellis looks like. So Trellis is a sort of an initiative to archive type solution. We wanted to be able to tool the ability to create an initiative from scratch, but also manage it through its life, right the way through to the archiving process. When the project finishes, we roll the data that we need to keep in archive off, and we literally delete the project infrastructure. We close it down fully. So we did the initial design work using the DARE UK program first phase, and there's a link there to the report. Most of the architecture is all publicly available, and all of the base sort of logic blocks that we used available in a GitHub repository for anyone to go and investigate. I think it's linked from that link below. I believe the slides will be available if you need to follow it, but otherwise please contact. And to enable those workflow controls, we use ServiceNow, which is a cloud platform technology you may be familiar with. So people can come at the front, and through that platform, we configure and control all of the data fabrics. So just to explain the picture at the bottom a little bit, just for an intro, you can see the blue data fabric surrounded by an administrative org database. That's a platform that captures all the metadata. And each of that platform is our trusted research environment platform that was on the first slide. But each project gets a white box, which provides a collaboration account, which means people can go and do their collaborative work in that. But every participant, so the research performing organizations and let's say the CRIC lab, gets their own, what we refer to as a bedroom, connected to the living room. And then you do your private stuff and it's still your domain in your bedroom, but you can then decide what you wish to share and work collectively in the collaboration room. And that's the general structure. So through how do we create that set of facilities? We use GitHub and S3 buckets to collect configuration data from ServiceNow and trigger Lambda functions that then use the open technology of Snowflake to pre-provide and make all of the functions call that creates the objects. So this is all automatic, not human driven, except through these configuration of ServiceNow facts. We use Okta and Azure Directory to authenticate all users into, be it for their actual login to the actual accounts when they get a role, or when they get access to the reporting dashboards, which is a sort of row-based security based on login credentials. We do write data out to our meta warehouse, which is for our reporting engine, but we also have looked at a variety of tools, Docker-based tools that allow us to bring feeds in from our research data warehouse, which is a sort of petabyte scale suite of facts, or through user self-management through tools like dbeaver or anything else that allows them to load from their own worlds, their own laptops or their own external worlds. And the very important part of the design is that within the TRE project, you only have access to those 5 roles, which are very clearly defined and what they can and cannot do. And that governs the process of data custody from outside into the experimenter's domain. Experimenter, investigator, one of the same thing. Come more to that in a minute. So basically, we have this concept of a living room. As you build the living room, you get a database and computes created for you. Snowflake is such that the creation of these things doesn't cost anything. It's only the use or the storage that invokes cost. Each bedroom, as I said, gets the same, gets a bedroom, gets a data world and computes for all of the different institutes or research providing organizations or SDEs that are involved. And then all of those have private doors that have locks and keys, and also windows, which are these shares between the bedroom and the living room, but not between the bedrooms. You can't share between the bedrooms. You can only share between the bedroom and its corresponding project living room. So you can log in, and if you're given more than one key to different doors, you can go into different doors, and then you get roles. You can either load data in, but can't do anything with it. You can process it when it's in the bedroom, but can't load any data in, or you can authorize the share of data out to the living room. And on the living room side, you can see data shared to you, which is either the window is opened and the data passed through, which is a copy, or it's held up to the window and you look at it, but you don't actually get your hands on a copy. The data curator makes it available in the database, and the experimenter has access to schemas specific to each experiment within each project to do their work. And each of those roles has its own compute. And each of these computes has a usage monitor that monitors that, and you can set thresholds per week, per day, per hour, or per month. And reporting obviously out of it. So that controls the bills. All of these projects stack up on this platform, and the orchestration engines and the reporting is on the side. So hopefully that gives you a metaphor, sort of hotel suite, living rooms, bedrooms, that give you some way of understanding how we control the flows of data in and through, as well as who gets access to what and can do what, and what tools they get given in order for them to do that work. I mentioned a legal agreement. One of the essences is that we use a standard Brunswick style agreement, which has specific things to do with this sort of collaboration. But embedded in this, let's call it the purple part, is that there's another CRIC service terms which people sign up to, which is, if you like, how the people, the entities in joining the project will use their facilities, who the people will be and what the budget information will be. And then we pass through specific terms and conditions that they follow, which are connected to the Snowflake data ecosystem component. And so this standard template joins the legal side to the technical side, and the legal side responsibilities to some of the audit and compliance tools. So last but no means least, I thought it would be relevant to sort of say how we support the 5 safes. This is rather a complicated slide, so apologies. It builds all in one, so I'll just bring it up and people can look. There's a variety of tools and techniques we use to try and keep things safe, which I imagine everyone does. We're an emerging learning based entity in this whole space. We are reliant on picking up good ideas from everywhere and trying to implement them. One thing we did do was look at the THARTRA specification, and look at how we comply to all of its mandatory and things, and we've documented that, and I think it's coming onto the dashboard, the THARTRA homepage soon. But that's a quick outline, and I thought I'd give you in the remaining 3 minutes or so a quick look-see at the front end. This is the physical visualization of the front end. So just to pretend and do a dangerous job, you literally, this is ServiceNow, so you would log in and create a title, and fill up these sort of things, put your name in there, what the email is. For me, obviously, start and end rough dates, and then you would extend yes. Does it require ISO 27001, or in America, does it require HIPAA? Any of these will make sure that the collaboration is done on infrastructure that is compliant for those type of standards. You can set up a mixed grant core type of a relationship and pending comments. And this really allows you to signal the introduction of a project. Once you've done that, you can add consortium partners. What I'm going to just do is illustrate one which I've semi-created before. In the CRIC, we can choose any of our labs and any of our STPs that I think I mentioned, and you get a feeling for what they are. But you can also put in things like Dundee University. Oh, I can't spell, but you get the gist. And then that would be at dundee.ac.uk. And then this would be, where do we want the Dundee one to be built? I'm being stupid here, but we'll make it in Ohio. That's where we've been. Now we could put another one in. You get the gist, I'm sure. Once you submit that, it goes into a front-end screen that allows the back end to be managed through the workflow with approvals and adding documents and adding comments that keep the audit control through. This is where you add budget. You can choose for the same consortium. Oh, wrong one. 28. You can choose a particular, for the consortium, what the budget project code and grant codes will be, all of these things, and then set out what the overall budget will be, whether it's 12 months, percentage collaboration 50%, and then it will give you how many credits you'll be able to spend per period, etc., and a period, and then you can choose the profiling of that against the roles that you wish to follow. You get the general gist. Equally along here, you've got the ability to add users to the entity account and the collaboration accounts, and then modify those users by adding more roles. So if, for example, you want to choose that same consortium ID using the this account. I can add a person to that by putting their email address in. I'm going to make it up and get it all wrong, but you get the gist. And then I can choose what role that person has or data person. I can add more. And if they're Okta enabled, that all follows through and it's single sign-on enabled, but you get the gist, I hope. So in summary, you've got various things that hopefully different workflows that hopefully says what they does what it says on the tin. So hopefully what you've had is a quick summary of how we set up our TRE and how it works like. And I've hopefully allowed 10 minutes for people to ask any questions before we break for the next session. So far away.
Feel free to raise hands, use the chat or the HackMD.
Simon, I see you've got your hand up. Do I manage?
So how cloud agnostic would you say your TRE is? Is it really just okay across the main public cloud providers, so AWS, GCP, and Azure, or does it sort of go beyond that?
No, it doesn't go beyond that, Simon. Snowflake as a data fabric allows you to use any one of those three if they've got a regional support, but I don't think it presently goes beyond that. But as a Snowflake platform, what I didn't mention is it supports native Python coding as well as native SQL coding, and it has a whole suite of native machine learning AI type facilities and the rest. Everything you could expect from a cloud providing type entity. That's how it generally goes about it. But I'm not familiar with it providing support on anywhere else, any other cloud facilities. Wataru, I hope I pronounced that correctly.
Yeah, Wataru is fine. I hope you can hear me. I thought that was really, really good. I wasn't sure how much of it was live and in action already, or if this is kind of a sandpit area where you're still exploring things like that.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't make that clear, did I? No, it is an operational production platform at the moment. We've been using it for maybe a year and a half in earnest. Clearly, as you're probably fully aware, projects take an awful long time to gestate because they have legal relationships to set up and all of these things. And one of the reasons why we built it was to make that part of the process, the configuration and the agreement of the technical support facilities, very easy, to take that out of the debate and the discussion about who will lead, who will set up all of these things, to make that bit really, really simple. As you probably guess, we can set up, if we've got all the details, a new trusted environment in about 30 minutes maximum, and then add to it as we go. So it's in operation, but it's the amount of projects in it was, I think there's about 5 now of actively going, but they're all in different stages of going through the other part of the process, which is the legal agreement side. So what we're very keen to work with is different ways by which we can stabilize and standardize both the legal agreement, but also the sort of adoption type, approval type thing. So everyone goes, yep, that's great. Practice, common practice. More people doing the same sort of thing means that everyone says, yeah, we're all happy with that, and away we go. Yeah, so it is live, running real projects for real collaborations. Some of those are truly global with people all over the world.
I was curious. Sorry, I should introduce myself earlier. I work in NHS England and have been part of the kind of subnational SDE world for some time now. I was curious if other subnational SDEs have kind of expressed an interest in learning more about how they might be able to leverage something like this, because it seems, I'm sure there are nuances that it's probably missing on and could be enhanced, et cetera, but it would be a great jumping off point for those that might be considering starting something from kind of from a new, I guess. So just a kind of general question, if you've had any discussions around it with existing subnational areas.
We have.
Okay, that's fantastic to hear then.
And we'd love to do more.
Great.
Was there not another question? I saw someone put their hand up, but apologies if it's gone.
There are 3 that were put in the notes and in the chat. So
yeah, I don't think Donald had his hand up. But...
Let me go. Okay, so Sam asked, you have lots of integration across providers. Lots of those integrations and the interoperability challenges, lots of those integrations are, I guess, at the data level, Sam. So the integration to the Power BI world is a standard data model that allows the data to be sucked out of the metadata from Snowflake about all the projects and who's involved in what roles they have and all of those sorts of things, not the actual science data. Let me be very, very clear. None of that goes anywhere, just the operational side. And that's a very easy integration. It's a data-related integration. The same for the metadata reporting within the CRICS organization that you can see. The data ingests are all data experts that would do the transformation type activity to link through those tools, through things like the Docker Airflow type things and the other toolings. That if it's not that, we can't. And the IBM integration is one enabled by one of those automated flow processes, which where specialists get involved in configuring those on an instance by instance basis. Hopefully I've answered that one well enough, Sam. Please follow up if I haven't. Catherine asked, do you ever act as data processors on behalf of data providers, or is it effectively a data hosting service where the data comes processed by the data providers? So both. Our model is where, let's say you were a data owning or data hosting type entity, a data processor of your own right. Let's take Wataru's example of a subnational SDE. You could become a bedroom and therefore extend your domain of control into the Snowflake environment. So you had your own area. You would then bring the data of the project as you've agreed to that area and then share it from that area to the project. Does that make sense? So your domain of control extends to the boundary of your own area on the Snowflake platform. In the red, apologies if I quickly share my screen again. Hopefully this is apologies. If I go to here, this picture here, these reds, that would become like an area for the data providing entity. So they extend their control right to that end, that box. No one else can go into that box apart from themselves. They can process the data if they wish to make it in any shape or form they like, or they can just bring in the pre-processed information into it as long as it's got the right hooks agreed by the project to link it up. Hopefully that makes some sense, he says. Fingers crossed. Oh, hello, that's not what I want. I need to stop sharing here again. Should I try to quickly answer? I've got 2 more minutes.
Yeah, for free.
Simon, a question from the collaborative notes. Can you explain the metadata side of the platform, e.g. what software is being used? So do you mean the metadata tooling within Snowflake? So Snowflake offers a standard data model for all objects in all accounts. So what happens is every entity that collaborates with us on any project gets created a sub-account. That sub-account, any object in that sub-account has got a standard data model. And so we bring all of those data models through to a master admin database data model, because although Snowflake keeps retention for a year, obviously, as we all know, projects last longer than a year. So we need to keep full history of activity for maybe 5 years. So we bring the data out on a schedule, and it all goes and gets replicated in a master data world that stays for the duration of ever. And that is the stuff that is, have I addressed the metadata model, Simon, enough? Is that clarity? Whoever was asking that question? The physical costs of Andy asked the physical costs. That's probably dependent on whether you are a customer of things like ServiceNow and Okta and these things, if you've got those facilities within you. Snowflake itself follows a model of you buy credits and credits pay for storage and compute, but you only ever pay for when you're actually running a piece of script or when you're actually physically got data stored. Data is very cheap comparatively. The compute is what normally consumes your credits more than others. I can't remember what the public price is. It's on their website of what is the nominal price for a credit and what that gives you in terms of processing. Apologies, any further questions? Donald, how are you managing audit and compliance across the 3 cloud platforms? That's the beauty of the Snowflake world. It does it for you. So all the objects get created by Snowflake on all the infrastructure. So they've made sure all of those components are supported to the standard like 27001 or whatever. So there's 3 types of account you can have. An account, if you need ISO 27001 and others, you always have to go for the business critical / account level, and part of the script builds the right level or right type of account, sub-account for the right type of data. How do users see what they are spending? Good question. There's an automatic threshold detectors that are set for every processing compute, and they get sent a message depending on what you set the threshold as, at 75, 90, 95, 100. And there's different protocols you can use. So it'll either allow that script to finish, or it will literally stop the script when you reach your fully allotted amount. That doesn't mean you can't just ask for that to be added more to, or allow that script to finish. Hopefully that answered your question, Lisa. I'm conscious I've gone over time, and I need to pass back to David, I believe.
Yeah, only a couple of minutes, which is what I went over time. So you are actually perfectly on time. There are more questions on the HackMD, Pete. Maybe something you can do, if you're willing, is to answer in writing after today or during the rest of the session.
Thanks for those questions.
Yeah, thanks, Pete, a lot. This was a great presentation, and it was great to see it perform live. Very brave to go with a live demonstration during a meeting. I will continue to present. I will take it only briefly. We are going to be doing community updates and hearing from every of the working group leads or from the working group teams on what they have been doing and where we can find their charter. But a general update from the community management working group is that we have 7 new working groups, something that we are very excited about. They were formally created over the last few months, but in particular during the working group day that we celebrated on 29th of April, I think. I think it was. Oh yeah, it's on the slide. It was a great day with 40 people, 20 of those who made the trouble to come to the Turin offices, where we enjoyed some food and coffee and work on all of this, and including one working group that was created on the spot. This is very important because with our new governance processes that you can all go and visit on the new website, which it's pending migration, but it will be everything soon, and you can already visit it. This working group would now need is all of your review. They are open for community review. We are trying to push to do everything by consensus here. So what we really want is the community to express itself, provide any feedback that they have for working groups, any concerns, any discussions that we need to be making. And if there's no outstanding objections, then after 14 days, the co-chairs will consider all of these groups officially part of the community. They're already working because de facto I think they have been brought up in conversation with the community and they are already doing the work, but I think it's important it's important to have this step. Since I have to be very quick, I will be on the main room later to assist with anyone that needs any changing between rooms, but also anyone who wants to know a bit more in detail how this process looks like. And I'll be sharing the appropriate links for all of you to provide your feedback and any comments on the working group chapters through the chat. Do visit the new website, even if it's different. We will change the URL, but you can see what it already looks like and the resource hub. And with that, I will go back to Pete for a quick update on funding.
Thanks very much, David. Yes, folks, as we all know, that this community is a very voluntary body, but we've got lots and lots of things to do, and it's everyone who's been involved probably knows it takes quite a lot of effort, and we have grown such a lot over the recent times that really we feel that we have benefited from the money that DARE UK provided us. I think it was DARE UK a little while ago, in support of our actions, and it was a sort of interim funding, and that helped us a lot. And as a result, we would really like to make a bid, and we saw that the UKRI Digital Research Technical Professional Skills Network Plus bid was opened, and we felt, well, this seems to fit very well with the UK TRE community. We are a technical professional skill world covering many disciplines, from both the sort of research software engineer professional through to the information governance type of professional, and everything in between. And therefore we felt this might be a very good opportunity to kick off. Now, we had developed an initial proposal sort of summary document. We think it's a good idea, but timing is pretty tight. And we also haven't found a particular lead organization that has the capacity to submit. The timescales, I think it's something like the 22nd of June is the deadline. Unfortunately, that's very close. But if we were to find it, irrespective, there may be another release of this program that we can be more ready for, etc. So what can we do now to help build an investment proposal? Because even if it's not for this scheme, we would want to put one together for the next available or sensible scheme. So hopefully we might make this scheme, but who knows? So one things we would love you to do is, if anyone has got us a potential lead organization that has the sort of principal investigator role and would be willing to try and pull at short notice together, please step forward to the email at the bottom there, or connect to anyone else or on Slack. Also, however, as all these organizations represented today, let's ask our organizations to say, well, would you provide a letter of support for such an organization and take some involvement? Because we're involved, ourselves, all of us. The plan we can share of what our proposal document was, so you can see what we were thinking. It was to cover the conference, to do a particular project that would develop a skills pathways for all of the different major groups, which we would decide, and to also support the working groups, and also having a small budget to allocate to projects that this working community would think is important for it, and the like. So that's the essence of it. You can get some more information. We've got early drafts that we can share with you, but we'd also love you to contribute to drafting such a proposal. If you're up for that, being involved would be great. Obviously, we would start doing that, but all great ideas are welcome. So that's the essence. If you want to get in contact, please use that email address or contact any of the chairs or on the Slack channel. If you want to know more about the document, I'm sure we can make it available on our website or anything like that. And please, we would be very keen to know if you are planning to, or would like to, or will address the letter of support type thing of getting your organization formally supporting such a network. If you can, maybe drop us a note, or we'll have a discussion maybe in one of the on the chats or whatever. But please, that'd be great. Thanks. Hopefully that. Any questions? Jump in. And otherwise I'll pass over to Balint.
Okay, I think, yeah, we're doing the community group, the working groups update. So I'll give the first one as one of the co-chairs of the glossary working group. So I'm just going to take over screen sharing for a second. Can everybody see this okay? Perfect. Yeah, so this is the UK TRE Glossary Working Group that we're trying to get off the ground now. There are 3 co-chairs. So there's Rob Baxter, who's on leave today. There's Kate O'Sullivan, who's actually on the call, who's from the Grampian Data Safe Haven, and there's me, Balance Stewart, from Dare UK. So our purpose is quite simple. We want to create a glossary for TREs, or should I say SDEs. A strong motivation for this is really to support interoperability. So we need to have, I guess it's really critical that we have a shared or common understanding of terms if we're going to be able to work effectively together. And that's, I guess, not just a shared understanding among people, but also eventually by machines as well. And that's really key if we're going to want to federate. So if our goal is to facilitate a common agreed terminology across TREs in the UK, our scope will be, I guess, terms that are related to TREs, so infrastructure and architecture, but also at the data layer as well, so around data processing, ingress and egress, and also potentially related terms, around the legal and sort of governance layer as well. We're really keen that the glossary isn't domain specific, so it's not just for TREs that hold particular types of domain data, like health data or administrative data or whatever. And we also would like it to be accessible for multiple audiences, including non-technical audiences, if we can. And we're sort of thinking about ways that we can do that. In terms of the main output, so there are others, these are just the main 2. So the first one is, I guess, the glossary itself. So that's going to be on GitHub, but we'll render it in the uktre.org website. And as a startup attempt, so Rob actually merged 2 existing glossaries. One's the DataMind glossary, and the other was the Dare UK Driver Projects glossary. And kind of remarkably, there was only 2% overlap in terms. So I think TRE was one of the terms, but there's remarkably little overlap. So we really think there's sort of benefit for the community in getting a more sort of comprehensive glossary up and out there. Another key output for us that we really want to try and figure out in the next couple of months, and it would be really great to have, community input as well and ideas and suggestions, is the editorial process itself. So how do we sort of manage the maintenance and of the glossary? How do we decide what terms are in scope? How do we gather and curate new terms? And critically, how do we review changes or conflicts where there's disagreement in terms of terminology meaning? So we've got some ideas on how this editorial process might work, but please join our breakout room in the second of the breakout sessions for more information on this. And yeah, in terms of getting involved, so we have a mailing list. I think we've got 16 subscribers so far, so 16 members of the group. At the moment, we're meeting fortnightly on Teams while we sort of hash out the editorial process and we agree the initial glossary and try and get that up onto the website so that people can throw stones at it. And everyone's welcome. So as I say, yeah, if you're interested, then come and join our breakout room and you can find out more. Okay, we'll stop sharing if I can. There we go.
Thank you, Balin. Next, we have cybersecurity risk. Dono, I think you are presenting on behalf of the group. I don't know if you have anything that you want to share on the screen directly or just
yeah, give me a moment here.
Absolutely. Perfect. We see that.
Okay. Good. Right. The cybersecurity working group was started at the meeting in in April. And what we are focusing on there is looking at both the TRE infrastructure and the researcher code that's imported into that infrastructure. And I think the agreement at the moment is that there's a very narrow interest to start us all off, which is really looking at containers and the way containers are managed within TRE environments. And what we are attempting to do here is to focus on 1 or 2 specific tasks to deliver advice and tools to TRE users who are using containers as a way of allowing software to be imported into a safe haven environment or a trust research environment and then used for analysis there. So in terms of progress, we have yet to initiate our regular monthly meetings. We'll be meeting once a month in order to review the tasks that are in progress and to prioritize those. The working group itself currently has 2 chairs, myself and Martin O'Reilly, the Turing Institute, and so far we have 5 other members who are co-opted to the group. Today, we have a very specific focus for our working group session. We want to look at GitHub management processes because we envisage the work that we're doing essentially being contributions in an open source development style to a GitHub repository where we're maintaining both the tools and the documentation to use the tools. We're also going to be looking at how we want to capture community cybersecurity feedback, and that's most likely to be done just using an issues list in our GitHub repository. And what we're looking for there is a way of encouraging the community to feedback concerns about security risks in their environment, and then look at appropriate tooling to deal with the risk management for that. And then finally, we'll be looking at the initial tasking that we want the group to start with and how we envisage proceeding with that. So that's the summary for the cybersecurity group. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Donald. Yeah, anyone can join later the breakout rooms. Yeah, Simon.
Yep. So this is a verbal update, no slides. You might not be pleased to know. So I think as many of you know, Sarch has been going on for over a year now. The idea, and for anyone who doesn't know, the idea was to come up with a standard architecture for TREs in the UK. Basically, the basic idea being, look, there are loads of TREs in the UK. There's a lot of duplicated work. What can we do to define the commonalities between them and make everyone's work more efficient? So we're going to propose a UK tier working group to continue the work of Sartre, which was funded, a year or 2 ago now, funding round last October. We've seen a lot of interest in it, not just in the UK, had some interest from Europe and beyond that. So now what we really need to do is get a group of people together, a core group of people who can chair this working group, along with participants who are working able to contribute, and basically continue the work we've been doing. So there's a few small things we need to sort out, like getting more people to evaluate the theories, helping them publishing their work. But some of the biggest challenges we'll have to do at a working group is to say, like, how are we going to sort of take this into some sort of formal accreditation? So a lot of people have asked for it. We need to start taking steps like how is it going to be governed? How do you manage competing? It's going to be very political. How do you manage competing organisations who want to contribute and potentially have conflicting aims? How do we keep everyone on board? And then actually, how do we go about the actual process of becoming a formal standard certification? Like, is that something we set up? Do we have to go to someone else? So if you're interested in basically how we're going to run the working group, so I perhaps become a chair, joining in with regular meetings, or in terms of setting the direction of the working group. So I've highlighted a few key issues that have really been discussed previously in meetings, but maybe you think actually that's wrong, or maybe you think there's something missing. Please come along to the working group session.
Thanks, Simon. Next, we have funding and sustainability. Lisa, are you going to be doing a quick update here?
Yeah.
See you appearing.
Hi. I'll just share my screen. I've only done one slide, but gosh, I'm not even sure if everyone can see that. Right. So essentially, we set up at the April meeting a working group around financial sustainability. And that's because we all know that TREs are very expensive to run and funding is generally limited. Those of us that are business managers and managing TREs, we do often get asked for advice on how do you set up your charging, what do you charge, do you have any templates, etc. So really the aim of our group is try and gather information from the community on people's costing models, how they decide what to charge for, what they charge for, what sort of revenue streams they have. And the idea is that we'll gather that information, we'll put together some stats on what people are doing, and hopefully gather some resources that people can share, so that if you're about to set up a costing model for your TRE, that you're not alone, that you can build on stuff that's already been done. So in order to do that, we have built a survey, and that's been developed now, but I suppose when we meet later, we can go through it just to give it a final sign off. And the idea is that we're going to send it out soon to all UK TRE community users. And then if you don't mind, please share with us what you can about your finance models. And we won't share any personal data. Stats will be aggregated unless you want to, for example, give us a link to your website with your charging information on, that kind of thing. So please do join us later if you're interested in this area. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Lisa. I think it's over to Madeline for SDE theory definitions.
Yes, I'm afraid it's going to be Madeline and I. Hopefully you can see the screen. You'll be sick and tired of my voice, that's for sure. As an intro, thank you very much. We thought we would start with this for context for people who haven't started. There's 3 connected working groups. One is around SDE/TRE definitions. One is around extending control and how might that be done or is being done. And the third is around citizen agency. All of these were set up to address maybe those 3 points over here on the left. How do we minimize the time to research and delay? Because that's a large component of costs borne by the projects and by the funding entities and therefore by the taxpayers. So what we can do to get more research done for the same money is obviously an upside for everyone. The second is, how do we make combining data sets easier? Reducing barriers to research project and scope. So what is it that's constraining this, the aspiration of research communities at the moment is possibly influenced by the ability to get access to data, or the way data is potentially joinable or not joinable, and the problems and barriers to getting there. And the last one was the recognition that we are living in a social contract, somewhat underpinned by legal frameworks, but nonetheless, there is still a social contract between society and people in society and the use of that data for research. And to ensure that we don't have a place in the future where our data infrastructure continues to exclude the citizen from any agency that they wish to have. It may be limited, but nonetheless, how can we enable as much agency for those citizens as possible? So you'll see a diagram on the right-hand side that lists out the sort of illustrative type picture, which we use to explain the fact that these 2 areas, the research zone and the data zone, are different. If you read SDE on the left-hand side and TRE on the right-hand side, not literally, but that's sort of what came from the thing, that we need to have a bridge across a citizen domain, and that domain, that citizen zone, an ability to actually take part in the discussion. And I'm conscious my for some reason my video is off, so hopefully there it's back on again. So with that basis, we have these three projects. The first one is, as I've just explained, formally acknowledging the difference between the data and the analysis research activities encountered and covered by our community. The second is supporting federation, so that data and peering of data zone players with research zone players is possible. And the third is informing what information governance might be like, as well as adding to citizen agency. The why is, again, reiterating the fact that really we're not built research-wise from one data set, from one source. It invariably requires more data sets and then multi-modalities of data. So it's very much more complicated than one set. Not to diminish the work that can be done with the sets that we've already got, but looking forward. So collaboration is the fundamental for research process, and this means bringing data sets together, which is difficult at the moment. And so we have to think about our language and how we're structuring so that we make that easier. And consent-based research, where people are actively engaged in what is going on, is a very, very, very large part of the research agenda. We may not know it, but the whole of the drug company worlds and commercial worlds there, and also lots and lots of research, both social research as well as health research, to name but two, are very much consent-based driven models. So how do we ensure that happens so that our community and our infrastructure has to move and make this difference formal? That's the purpose. So what we did was we have already done an initial survey, and thanks to the 16 people that responded, very helpful indeed. And we were looking to find out the level of agreement. And as a result of that, the data is shown here. In general, our analysis from the working group is that we're pretty well agreed. There's a large general 3/4 or so, 2/3 are in general agreement with the definitions we've already got that separate these two concerns. But one of the large points was that terminology. Why are we using TRE and SDE? These are already in use, already understood. We have working worlds for those externally, and we don't want to. And this working group is not about changing that. Whatever happens outside is another matter. It's about inside. How do we think about it and understand it and communicate within ourselves? So terminology came up and a proposal was made to make use of the word zone, so data zone and research zone. So we've adapted and brought that in. So we're going to rerun the survey. It's published there. We would love as many people to join us in our session at the end of the day and talk about that and get a feeling for it, but also just take away that link. It'll be on the slides that get shared, and go and hopefully it's better worded. We haven't changed everything, but hopefully it's better worded and understood. If there's any questions, please get in touch with Madeline or myself. And what we aim to do is also share what we have done, so you can get a link to the analysis file that came out, as well as the initial report that we did, the analysis report that is basically where those graphs and table come from. The charter is here. This is more the comms slide. You can see we've got a JISC list to join for an email group for this group. There's a Slack channel off the main Slack channel. We have Dropbox for folder contributions and also a little repo. So what we're aiming to do is create a survey of the community's views on the definitions, this second survey that we'd love more people to contribute to. And from that, and with other things, we're going to look to write a definitions report that will be shared across the community, and also share the results of the second survey and any following surveys that get built from it. Any quick additions, Madeline, from yourself?
No, I think that's a great summary, Pete. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll move straight on then to the next one, which is hopefully you can see the extended control. So what's this all about? So picking up that point about research is not built on one data set or from one source, how do we make that collaboration, bringing data sets together, possible? But we mustn't lose information governance control and ensure that the promises made and the restrictions contained are enhanced and maintained within the social contract for research. That doesn't mean no change happens. It means what could we do to make and balance the five safe settings and type of model to ensure extending control might work. So we're looking at how we can federate data technically. We'll look at practices and processes that might need to change to support this. We'll be looking at how federation architectures look, and therefore what might need to be included in the inverted commas TRE standards. That's the Sartre type community-based, our community is sort of operating a manual in inverted commas at the moment. So again, our charter is here. You can see the charter. You've got a JISC list, a Slack channel, Dropbox for contributions and seeing what's happened, as well as the GitHub repository overall that gives sort of a brief overview. Our outputs are a request for input. So what we've drafted and shared more broadly, and anyone can see what we've done, and we want to get people's opinions on this. And then we're going to send that out to a set of bodies, both commercial vendors, existing TREs. Anyone here would like to have and has views, please, that would be great. And SDEs, and also the information governance community, really anyone at all. And what we'll do is create a what's all this extended control about, how might we go about it, and what's our thoughts collectively. So please come and join that working group if this tickles your fancy. And finally, the Citizen Agency Working Group before break. This is all about picking up that point that consent-based research is a dominant model and increasing. So to support and complement the population health type projects and other things like it. So how can we make that happen? When people want to take part, how does that voice that they've already expressed translate into access to their data, which may be stored in secure data environments or anywhere else? And how do we make that happen in a secure way where anonymization / may be difficult, but pseudonymization is then made to be possible? So we have to ensure that the infrastructures enable that citizen voice and personal choice, and we have to work the fact that there is this chasm in the bottom diagram between the sort of on the right, the present world, and on the left, the project world. There's, in my view, a gap and difference, and that will inform in its own way the federation architecture and TRE standards, as well as information governance processes, where consent will be part of the allowed pathways for passing data between a project and it's where it's curated and looked after. So this is all about making sure we add to the patient panel type of representative voice with the actual specific voice of the data owner. Alongside the ethics and PPI type work that is involving in a lot of these sorts of projects, where we always engage a representative sample to check that what we're doing, but to extend it to the actual consents of the specific individuals and what their voice says. So our charter is here. Again, specific JISC email list, distribution list, people would love to join. We have a Slack channel where that email list is pinned to, so you can get to it from the Slack channel. Again, a Dropbox and a GitHub repository. And the outputs here are, what does citizen agency mean? How are we feeling about it? What do we need to do to ensure that the community stays, facilities, rather, there's a comma missing there, are enhanced to ensure they're kept, including the Sartre specification and things like that. And then we may collect some results from engaged citizen bodies and people on this concept area. So to help feel that that citizen agency report. So if you're interested in that area, please come and join us this afternoon, where we'll talk about, in all of these three, what dates of the week, what would be a sensible meeting schedule for us to publish as a suite of things for people who want to get involved. And with that, I will pass back to David.
Thanks, Pete, and thanks to all working group leads for presenting on the updates and all the work that is going forward. Now we're going to have a well-deserved break time for about 10. Well, maybe we can then we can make it 5 minutes and we get back on track with timing. So back in 5 minutes, please do use this time to go over the topics and choose one. When you are back, I will open all breakout rooms and you will be able to choose which one you want to join. There are links on HackMD and on that slide that will take you to the specific collaborative notes, and you will be able to see the topics and the specific things that are going to be discussed. I do think that they are quite interesting, and those that are going to chair them have worked on them. So I think they will be quite interesting. So good luck trying to choose, and I will be on the main room for anyone that needs any help or have any questions overall around the community and the new governance processes and how everything works. Okay, I will not keep in your way. Have a little break, and let's be back in 5 minutes.